Welcome to NBC News Daily. We start right now with breaking news out of New York City, where Luigi Mangione will now be using a psychiatric defense in his state murder trial for the killing of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione is accused of killing the father of two in Midtown Manhattan back in December of 2024. He has pleaded not guilty to those charges. We have NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk and NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris following the very latest here. Steph, let's start with you. This is a significant change, clearly, in how prosecutors are going to be approaching this case. What else did we learn from today's hearing?
Well, Sam, this is effectively the defense and Luigi Mangione admitting he killed Brian Thompson. That is what has happened here with this new defense. So why are they doing this, and what does it get them? Well, he's still pleading not guilty to murder in the second degree. What they are looking for is a lesser charge. A lesser charge, possibly manslaughter, is less time in prison. And it goes from 25 years to life for second-degree murder to 5 to 25 years. If they could prove it,
right.
But they have to prove it in front of the jury in September.
So, Misty, to Stephanie's point here, this is a seismic change in strategy now for the defense. What does it mean? Right? So this is essentially an acknowledgement from Mangione's team that he was involved in shooting Brian Thompson, but that there's context. So what's the possible outcome?
Yeah, so Sam, this is huge because it means that Luigi Mangione is going to say, I did it, but there's a justification that should result in a lesser charge. And the standard for this particular defense, extreme emotional disturbance, is that he was going through an overwhelming emotional crisis that results in the loss of self-control. And so that's what the defense is going to be putting forward. Something that's interesting, when a defense is raised like this, what's called an affirmative defense, you know how we always say defense can, pipe down, doesn't have to say a word, the burden is on the prosecutors? The burden does shift to the defense to establish those elements of this, of extreme emotional disturbance. So we're going to hear a lot of psychiatric and psychological testimony.
I would put it to both of you then. Does this mean we're going to be hearing about more evidence in terms of what his state was like before we got into the whole, suppression motion and the details that were actually recovered when he was apprehended? How does it change that process? And Steph, also, we have a federal case going on as well. So what's the impact there?
Yeah, so obviously the prosecution has to completely change its strategy. And also the prosecution today in court said, we don't have all the documents. We don't have all the information we need to go to trial on this. However, they also said we don't want this to get in the way of a September 8th trial date, and the judge said that it will not happen that way. But then when they get to court, you're not going to be hearing a lot of things about, DNA at the crime scene and the gun, and he used it, because all of that's basically, that has been now established. It's going to be all that happened in the buildup and the potential planning that he did, and what that says to intent.
Yeah, and when you're talking about that loss of self-control element that we just said, so that's where the defense is going to go. They're going to tell a narrative about what led him there to that day, where the defense is going to say, this was planned. This was planned and premeditated, and you can look at his actions leading up to it to establish that he knew what he was doing.
It is effectively an entirely new trial now.
It's a new case.
Misty Marris, Steph Gosk, thank you both for the insight. We appreciate it.